Chef's Kiss, Pete and John, back with another episode. This is post-Super Bowl episode recap.
What's
Recapping the
up?
Super Bowl and everything else that went along during the week. A lot of exciting stuff. Obviously, game last night.
You were in that new fresh hat.
I mean, this was the best purchase that I made. They had nice script. I really like that script. Like they have a lot of hats like that. I got this one. It's got the the little violet, I guess you call it, pewter. I don't know what color that is. But they had the cool Vegas one where it's like the sign, "Welcome to Las Vegas." It was all black. I was thinking about that one, but you had to have a team on either side. There was either 49ers or the Chiefs, and I'm like, I don't want anything to do with that. So I got this one, and couldn't be more sure of my purchase.
Dude, it's awesome, man.
Great
I'm
memorabilia.
all in. I think it looks awesome. And you were there, so we'll get into it.
Yes.
So let's get it. Let's get into it. So Chiefs win yesterday, 25-22. Third
Overtime.
Super Bowl, and they're over the San Francisco 49ers in overtime. Can we say the Chiefs are now a dynasty?
Yeah, I was very hesitant on the GOAT talk, better than Brady, dynasty, all that stuff, because in my mind, for a dynasty, you need to win 3, and they have been to the big dance in the last 5 years. They've won it three times now. So, yes, I think that definitely qualifies for a dynasty.
I would agree. There's just things that I thought the Packers were going to be a dynasty with Rodgers, and it just never happened. And Mahomes just figures things out, man. I mean, just like Brady, It's nothing super special. When you need a play or you need something, he just feels it. He's faster than people think. He can make every type of throw. He knows when he needs to take it himself. He knows when to check down. Andy
Reid, though, obviously helps him with the play calling too, right?
Yeah, of course, and it helps so much to have Andy Reid. So you have an offensive-minded coach. Jordan Love benefits so much from Matt LaFleur. So the match of Andy Reid with Mahomes is huge. So we can definitely say the Chiefs are a dynasty. Mahomes on that drive where they needed a field goal and then where they needed a touchdown in overtime, it's just amazing. Like his pocket awareness, he knew when to run. He's so much faster than people think. He really, really is. I mean, I watching Jordan Love this year, and I'm like, oh, he moves pretty well. But I've watched Mahomes for years, and I'm like, he's still not as fast as Mahomes. Mahomes is faster.
We were talking about this yesterday.
He can make over the head throws, side throws, any type of throw you want. But he knows he can. His pocket awareness is just incredible. He's just amazing. I can't believe I'm saying this. He's probably a better quarterback than Rodgers. Rodgers in his prime was great, but Rodgers' inability to make plays in the Super Bowl and this Kansas City Chiefs team was not a very good team. Again, we'll talk about this.
The worst offense we've seen.
100% leads the league in offensive penalties, offensive holding penalties, and leads the league in drops. And he overcame all that. He won on the road in Buffalo. He did everything you needed to do to win. I think it's Brady and then it's Mahomes. I think he's surpassed Montana. He's better than Rodgers. I mean, there's nothing else I can say at this point. I mean, if that last drive didn't show you like how great he is, you just don't understand football. Like in big games and pressure situations.
What you were talking about, his ability to make those throws, John, like that is not by accident. That is all you've seen quarterbacks, right? He does plyometrics where spine mobility, leg mobility. I mean, you've seen the hits that he took that you would say, I mean, if me and you got hit like that, we're tearing ACLs, we're
falling over, or we're tackled.
Not even falling, but I'm saying just hurt.
Yeah.
The fact that he does contort his body on a regular basis, knowing that I'm going to have to make these off-kilter throws, that is something that we've seen, in these behind-the-scenes in quarterback, that he practices that. I mean, he goes on his neck and stretches out his spine. Those are the kind of things that allow him to make these crazy kind of passes, because he has the intelligence to know where to throw it, and then that mobility and obviously the athleticism can kind of lead to what we saw, over the last couple years.
Yeah. I mean, he's essentially Tom Brady that can, with wheels, he can move. I mean, he's probably the best quarterback. I mean, he's got a ways to go with Brady, but he's 28 years old. He's been to he's been to 4 Super Bowls. He's won 3. 3 Super Bowls in the last 5 years. He is the best quarterback in the league. He's the second best quarterback of all time, and when it's all said and done, he might be the best quarterback of all time. I mean, he's just what makes a good quarterback. They talk about Brady's combine, slow, gets knocked down easily, it gets flustered, forced to ad lib, and gets knocked down easily. And Brady's fortunately for me, that's not what quarterbacking is all about. Or my 40 time, he goes executing under pressure in big games. That's what it's all about. And Mahomes, underdog, doesn't matter. I said this to my dad. We were talking about it, and I go, I'm not picking against Mahomes. I go, 49ers up and down have a better team than everybody in the NFL. They have better players at almost every single position.
Both sides of the ball.
What they don't have is an elite quarterback. And if you look at the losses that Brock Purdy has had, who has he lost to? He's lost to Joe Burrow. Okay, he's lost to Lamar Jackson, and he's lost to Patrick Mahomes. And he almost lost and should have lost to Jordan Love. And I think next year he probably will. He lost to elite quarterbacks. Brock Purdy played the best possible game he could play. I think we have reached the peak of his abilities. He played what he needed to do is not turn over the football. He did that. He did everything he needed to do.
I would disagree. He did not.
I thought he did. I thought he played an excellent game considering the circumstances. His first Super Bowl. I thought he was awesome.
Stats for Kittle, stats for Debo. I mean, those are your playmakers, and you're not able to get them the ball. And I understand what you're saying. He did play a very good didn't make any mistakes, right?
My point is this: he's not elite, and to win Super Bowls, if you're playing against an elite quarterback, you're gonna lose. He lost to Lamar Jackson, he lost to Joe Burrow, and he lost to Mahomes. It's because he's not elite. I'll give you a prime example. Early in the fourth quarter, it's kind of like Garoppolo in their Super Bowl, 3 or 4 years ago, where he missed that deep ball that he had to hit. Same thing. Debo releases. He's open for a deep ball. It's 10 minutes left in the fourth quarter, and Purdy misses it. Also, Purdy is not great under pressure. If you mess up his timing, Kyle Shanahan's whole offense is predicated on getting the ball out quick. Timing. It's like pitching. Pitching is just upsetting the hitter's timing. If you upset his timing and pressure him
against pressure,
he is not great, and the odds are in your favor. And he cannot beat elite quarterbacks. So if you're the 49ers, you have to stick with him. You made the Super Bowl, but he just doesn't have the skills.
They made the Super Bowl with Garoppolo, and they didn't keep him too, right?
That's what I'm saying. So they could easily make a move, but the thing is what are we? If you're Kyle Shanahan, you're John Lynch. What are we lacking? We are better than every other team at every position except the most important one, which is quarterback. And because of that, we are limited. And because of that, he's never going to beat Mahomes. He's never going to beat Lamar Jackson. He's never going to beat Burrow. He may never beat Jordan Love again or whatever, or some elite quarterback from the NFC. He's limited. I mean, there's a reason he was the last pick in the draft. I think
we're seeing him on the best roster too, John.
And
we're
the best roster
with the best talent around him.
Who's ever had a better roster?
So,
you have five Pro Bowlers on offense alone. possible future Hall of Famers: Trent Williams, George Kittle.
Offensive
You
MVP.
you could argue Kyle Juszczyk is a Pro Bowl fullback if they even let those in anymore. You have Brandon Ayuk, who is Pro Bowl and just as good as any wide receiver in the league. Also, you have the possible MVP Christian McCaffrey, and you have also Deebo Samuel. That is an embarrassment of riches, and they lost because if you want to be just simple, Brock Purdy wasn't as good as Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes is so good. I told my wife, we were watching the game, I go, if they don't convert this third down and they kick a field goal, this game's over. I've seen this so many times. Mahomes is going to come down and score. Like
Dan Campbell was just gritting his teeth watching that.
Right. I go, exactly. You have to kill, like, Mahomes is a killer. Michael Jordan was a killer. Brady is a killer. You have to fucking kill them. You have to knock them the fuck out. You do. You have to do it. And if you don't, and if you give them any life and any, opportunity, they're going to beat you because they are transcendent quarterbacks. And again, San Francisco is the better team at pretty much everybody they played this year, but they lack skill at the number one position, and that's quarterback. And that's
also,
why they
John,
lost.
we can talk about the differences between coaching, right? Because we look at that decision. When it went to overtime, I didn't know. I was like, is it a first touchdown? Is it a field goal? I don't remember.
Romo did a terrible job explaining it. Romo did not say, like, hey, by the way, yes, he was right on the time, but he also should have said, hey, next score, if they score, they win, which he didn't say. So Romo sucked for that first half because Romo isn't good when the game isn't good, and you could argue that the first half was kind of boring. Once the game got good, he got a lot better, but he sucked, like, explaining that to the public audience. But I'm talking about
the coaches. There's no reason that Kyle Shanahan should have the same amount of knowledge as I do sitting on my couch, not knowing, the rules of overtime, right? They did the interviews, and they talked to, I don't know if it was Trent Williams or somebody that says, we practiced this for 2 weeks. We knew what would happen if it went to overtime. We would defer. That way we would know what we had to get, right? 49ers had no idea. That they asked the players, they're like, we didn't know what the rules were. We thought it was first to score.
Fred Warner
and that
said,
is,
we'll take the ball.
We'll take it. And so that, obviously is a huge mistake. I understand, it's kind of unprecedented, the second overtime in Super Bowl history, but those are the details that make a coach great and just good, right? Kyle Shanahan never won the big game, blows double-digit leads when he's up at halftime, blows the game. That's kind of his MO. But for you not to know those rules, not to know the situation, and preparing your team is the difference between Andy Reid and Kyle Shanahan.
Yeah, I kind of disagree with you there. I think Shanahan's taken a lot of heat, and rightly so. And here's the other thing: every franchise has their bugaboo, right? I mean, no offense, the Bears, some worse than others. The Bears have an inability to draft a quarterback. They just cannot do it.
Draft
the
and
Packers,
develop. Yep.
The Packers are very good, but they cannot beat the 49ers in the playoffs. Matt LaFleur can't beat Shanahan. But Shanahan cannot beat the Chiefs. But I don't think it's a reflection on Shanahan. I think it's a very well-coached team. They're really good. It really comes down to Patrick Mahomes.
Though.
Details, but it ultimately comes down to Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes
100%. But if you're going to go toe-to-toe with him, you have to be looking at those details.
That's
right?
what I said to my wife. You got to go for. You can't kick a field goal here. If you don't go for it, you got to score a touchdown here. You have to knock him out because if you kick a field goal here, he's gonna score. He's going to score.
They also get another down as well because they know
absolutely
they're going to have to score. So they get an extra down knowing we'd have to go for it.
Absolutely. And I think if you're going to criticize Shanahan, he played not to lose, and you saw that through Purdy. Purdy played Purdy played like Shanahan went to him before the game and said, "Listen to me. We are better up and down every position than the Chiefs. We are a superior team at every position. The only thing that I want you to do is take care of the ball and not turn it over." And he did that, and it still wasn't good enough. And the reason it wasn't good enough is because Patrick Mahomes overcame everything. And that's what great, transcendent players do. And that's what he did. I mean, he's that good.
Yeah. He makes it work with whatever's around him.
Whatever's around him. And he knew when to run. That 4th and 1, that fake handoff, he ran, and then he ran again, and Armstead just missed him. I mean, and that happens. I can't tell you how many times Mahomes is running. I'm like, they just missed him. And then he gets out in the open field, and then people are like, oh shit, he's fast.
He's moving.
You know?
Yeah.
Like people shouldn't be surprised by that anymore. And the problem is he could flick it at any time, so he can have a defensive player fall down or get tripped up just by going like this or even looking a certain way because he's so dangerous throwing the ball. And that's what makes him so difficult to beat. And so I really think it's a reflection on how good Mahomes is and Andy Reid more than the mistakes that Shanahan made. Shanahan made mistakes, but ultimately you got the best defense in the league, and you got to stop a mediocre offense with a great quarterback, and you couldn't do it. And you couldn't do it.
But let's look at the first half,
you blew a lead. And that blocked extra point, I knew that was going to
fumbles. They held. There was holding calls. They had.
Mahomes threw a pick too. You know, I mean, each team
I
had
understand,
turnovers.
but like you're saying, if you are going to keep up with the best, those are the mistakes that you can't make. You can't have a false start. You can't fumble the ball. You can't give them extra possessions. Those are the things that if you give them extra, just like in baseball, if you give a team extra outs, they're going to make you hurt.
I'm with you. But again, I mean, Mahomes had a pick, okay? Purdy played perfect, clean football. He did. He made some great plays. That throw to use check on the run was awesome.
Yep.
He hesitated, juked, and then went right and threw it. That's a great play. Brock Purdy is a very good quarterback, but that's what he is, a very good quarterback. He's not elite, okay? He's not a Burrow. He's not an Allen. He's not a Mahomes.
He's a Kirk Cousins.
And fingers crossed, he's not a Jordan Love. He's a Kirk Cousins. He really is. And again, they are the best, most talented team I've ever I can remember, except for the most important position, not only in football but arguably in sports. And that's why I was shocked when I saw the spread was San Francisco by 1.5. I go, are you out of your mind? I am not betting against Patrick Mahomes against Brock Purdy. That's really, to me, that's what it came down to. I go, forget everything else. I go, Mahomes versus Purdy, I'm taking Mahomes. I'm taking Mahomes until someone other than Tom Brady beats him. Yeah,
I made the mistake. I went against him. I took 49ers money line.
I didn't.
I took
picked
Brock
the Chiefs.
Purdy over 12.5, and he, it was a bad beat. He took that knee to go to overtime, and it went under.
It's little. I mean, it's the same thing with Garoppolo, too. It's just like that fourth quarter, like Purdy played perfect. But to be elite, you got to make big plays if you have opportunities. He had an opportunity early in the fourth quarter. Debo beat coverage, and he missed him. He overthrew him. And you just can't do that with Mahomes. You just can't do it.
I was watching with my wife, her friends, and my in-laws. And, some of the girls were saying, like, oh, this game's boring. That game was not boring. Like, it wasn't high scoring in the first half, but that wasn't a boring game. Like, the defense was playing well. It was a very good football game. Like, I was not bored at all.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah,
what about the half? Sure. Okay, I have a thought on the halftime show, Joe.
Dude,
I was unimpressed. I'll be honest.
Dude,
I'll give
Usher
5 out of 10.
is a great dude. First of all, I'm not a huge fan of Usher.
I
thought it was good. And by the way, dude, it got great reviews. He's an amazing dancer.
I thought it was
he was awesome.
Sure, I didn't think like it was very upbeat. It started slow. He's got a lot of slow songs. I understand that. It just didn't really do anything for me. I didn't think it was that exciting. Then they put him on roller skates, and I was like, okay, he got roller skates on. They put football pads on him and Ludacris. Ludacris had like size 22 shoes on. So that was cool. But it just, I wouldn't say like it was great. I would rather seen Post Malone perform. I know he sang America the Beautiful, and I was like,
Yeah.
dude, get him out there. Alicia Keys sounded great. I love her music. I just didn't think like the performance overall was very noteworthy. It was fine.
I thought it was good. It was definitely like very 2003. You got Lil
Yeah.
Jon. I felt like we were back in high school
Ludacris.
again.
Yeah.
Ludacris. Yeah. My wife didn't know he was from Atlanta. I'm like, literally, he raps about that in every one of his songs. How
Yeah,
did you not know
Hotline.
that? It's
Where
like
do you think
not
Hotline?
knowing that Eminem was from Detroit or Nelly was from St. Louis. I'm like, they literally
Right.
rap about it in every song that they have. Um, Again, great game. 49ers had a better team, but the Chiefs had the better quarterback, and I ultimately think that that was the difference. So great NFL season, a lot of NFL stuff. It's a long season. It's a lot of football. I'm looking forward to spring training and baseball, and I know you are too. But I know that you were in Vegas covering it, and I have a lot of questions for you. So super cool. I was following you on your socials. So I have a lot of questions for you about that. But like, how did it transpire, and through your work and getting credentialed, and what media day was like? And I have a bunch of questions, but just tell me about how that transpired, because I don't know if anyone, if everybody knows, because you
Yeah,
covered
I
the Super Bowl.
just
You were in Vegas.
yeah, I work for a sports betting network, and I run a lot of their social stuff. So me and a lot of the team from the company went out there. We had stages set up on Radio Row where they had guests. On the network they have their talent that's on the network, and they got to interview people. And Radio Row was really cool. Monday when we got there, we got to I went to the stadium, and I got to sit in front of the players. It was really cool. The media access let me go anywhere, obviously. So I go down to ground level. I saw so many celebrities, athletes, media personnel.
What was the
And
biggest celebrity you saw?
the biggest one, I mean, I was athletes. I mean, I was face to face with Gronk. I saw Baker Mayfield, Burt Kreischer. I said hi to him in passing.
That's awesome, dude.
Adam Schefter. I mean, everybody. Jeff Darlington. Everyone that's covering there, and on Media Row is everybody. McAfee. I saw McAfee live. That was pretty cool. They did their show
That's cool.
live. It's right
Yeah.
there on Media Row. So it was a very cool experience. I mean, something that most people won't get to do that. And then I got there early. I had no expectations. I would see stuff on television, cameras 50 rows deep, right? And I'm like, all right. I mean, I'm probably not going to be up there. I'll be in the back or whatever, just getting content. And I got there early because I'm just like by myself. So I'm like, all right.
So
I
what
went
day
there,
did
got
you
to
get
the
there?
Field. I got there Monday.
Monday,
there
and how
Monday.
long was your stay?
I left Thursday.
Okay.
So I was there all day Monday because I got there before noon on Monday. So I was all there all day Monday, all day Tuesday, all day Wednesday, and then flew out Thursday morning.
Okay.
So, but I did, like I said, I got there early, so I got to set up my tripod and stuff like right in front of all their little cutouts where they would sit and answer questions, and I got right up there. Mahomes was there, and there's kind of people there first because I didn't know. I was kind of putzing around, just like filming stuff, and then nobody's by Andy Reid, and I'm like, dude, I'm getting right here. So I got front and center for him. I stayed there for most of Andy Reid, and then the 49ers came out. I got Kyle Shanahan, asked him a question, and then I started walking around, and that's when I saw like the rest of the 49ers, Fred Warner, Nick Bosa, asked them questions. So, yeah, the most boring person. I mean, I'm sure, yeah, if you got questions, just let me know. I'm sure you want to know most boring, most fun, stuff
right.
like that.
All right. Did you gamble, and if so, how much money did you lose?
Yes, I did gamble.
Are you not allowed
I-
to say how much money you lost in case your wife listens to this podcast?
I don't think she will, but it was
Not they're just my wife. Don't worry about it. My wife never listens
Yeah.
to this podcast.
it was over 1,000.
All right. Not terrible.
On-
Over under sleep for your entire Vegas trip. 7 hours.
Over under, over, because Monday
That's
night I had a
good.
good night, got a regular sleep over. The one night when I called you, there was 0 on that clock, so just ran into
Wait,
the
is
wheels,
that when
fell
you
off.
called me from the plane?
Yep, yeah. because I met up with
For
my
people
buddy.
for people who don't know, Pete called me from the plane. There's no way to
FaceTime.
say it. You were definitely drunk.
Yeah.
And you FaceTimed me, which was great. And I was super excited. You're like, I'm coming back from the Super Bowl. And I was like, oh my God, that's awesome. And I was following your socials, and it was super cool. And then you FaceTimed me. You turned your phone, and I was FaceTiming with the flight attendant who was like yelling at me to get off the phone.
Yeah.
So I was like conversing with her. And then you're like, dude, I got to go. I'm getting in trouble. I'm like, yeah, like
Yeah.
we'll talk later. Yeah, that was
the
great.
coolest part of that, John. Like I hate flying, so after that
Flying's
call,
a pain, and airports are the worst, dude.
yeah, but it's a long flight from Vegas went to Midway.
Oh yeah.
So the
What is
coolest
that,
part
like
was
6 hours, like 5 hours?
well, the coolest part was after that phone call, I went to sleep and then
Yeah, you
woke up
passed
in
out.
Chicago. So
Exactly.
that was nice. It went by real
Nice.
quick.
That's great.
Yeah.
Explain your strategy on capturing content at this event. So do Sports Grid say, hey, we're going to send you there. We need you to get this person. We need you to get Mahomes. We need you to get this. Or do they give you kind of creative license to be like, hey, just get engaging content for us? Like, what's that conversation like?
Yeah, pretty much. I was just, you know, freestyling by myself. Essentially, I was paired up with the girl a little bit, and we would, we had people scheduled on our sets, right? Like,
Yeah.
we knew Robbie Gold was coming, so after his spot here, we're gonna pull him off, talk to him, and we kind of we had that. There's XYZ players, athletes coming, pull them off, I would talk to them, and then if I had some time, you do a lap, you walk around, try and talk to people, get content, stuff like that. So I got a chance to talk to a lot of athletes, which was really cool. Frank Caliendo, got to talk to him, did some impressions. Chris Mad Dog Russo, that was probably my highlight, talking to him. I
So
love
that's what I
that
wanted
guy.
to talk to you about. So the Mad Dog, the High Heat on MLB Network, he's like a sports radio legend. With him, I think they did a 30 for 30, Mike and the Mad Dog, with Mike Francesa and Chris Russo, longtime radio
ESPN
show in New
every
York.
Tuesday with
Yeah.
Stephen A.
Yeah, that's awesome. And yeah, now he's on Stephen A. So, what did you have a good time? Like, what did you think? Was he cool?
Yeah, he was a very genuine person, and
Yeah.
it
What
was
you see is what you get.
yeah, and he puts his arm around me, and just talking. I asked him about
awesome.
about if he's gonna take a gummy before the game and stuff. Oh yeah, I'll take a gummy. You bet. I gotta time it right, and then I gotta get home, and then I gotta work the next day. So, but I will partake. He says that. And then I asked him about the Yankees' outlook for this season, and he just talked about all these players that got to play better. Stanton's got to play better. Rizzo after the concussion, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And then
Stan has to figure out not how to pull a hamstring when he's running to first base. That would be the
Yes.
first thing I would suggest.
yeah, and then when we were done, Peter, great job, Peter, very nice job. Like a very genuinely nice guy, and I was just so excited to meet him because I've been listening to him forever. Every
Yeah,
morning.
High Heat, me too.
Yeah,
Was there
High Heat, so-
anyone, if you can name, let's shit talk for a little bit. Was there
Okay,
anyone
yeah.
you met who sucked or you were disappointed by?
So I heard some stories. I'm not gonna.
If you're
put
not
out
allowed, if
names.
you don't want to divulge that information, I totally respect that. You're in the media, but I certainly would love.
I heard stories
dish.
about some woman in the media who was portrayed as a good girl, and it turns out she's not. I was with the guy, and he had some stories about her, and there was
You want
confirmation from other people.
to tell me off the air here?
Oh, I'll tell you.
I,
Yeah, I'll tell you off. I'll tell you
Okay, because
everything off.
I
Yeah.
definitely want to know. Okay, great.
Yeah,
We'll do that later.
But there is a girl. Yeah. Oh, can I tell you one of the coolest experiences?
Absolutely.
So that Wednesday night, going into Thursday, I went to meet up with my buddy Jeff Rowan. If you remember him, he played baseball with us too. Who's a year younger than me. He was out in Vegas.
yeah.
So
he was part of the state championship team.
he was, yes.
Pete,
So
Pete's just trying to shoe in. Pete won the state championship, the only state championship for our
right.
high school in 2007. He was the starting first baseman, power lefty. Every chance
Names
he
on the
gets,
field.
he tries to weave it in whatever conversation we're having. So
Always.
let's just
Got a
acknowledge
tattoo
it. We were the
So,
regional champs in '05, and that's as far as we went because we
yeah.
faced the number one pick from the Red Sox, Mike Bowden. So,
We
not
were
really our
we were
fault.
at the Luxor, and who do I see? I see PMT from Barstool. Him
Cool.
and
Shades
Diana
or no
Rossini.
shades?
No shades.
Okay.
Him and Diana Rossini together
She's like an
playing
investigative
roulette
reporter now. She's
for
like
the
her
Athletic.
role is totally shifted. Like she
Yeah.
works from home now, and she just is kind of like the female version of Schefter.
Yeah, she
Yeah,
works for the
cool.
Athletic now. So I played roulette with them for like 2 hours.
That's
And
awesome.
we had fun. She was like, Peter, like, who do you work for? Like, just like small talk and stuff, nothing crazy. But just to
Yeah.
be like, I'm like playing roulette with Diana Rossini and PMT from Barstool.
That's
So that was
that's
cool.
awesome. Do you so like you want to be respectful? You're a member of the media, but you want to make a name for yourself, and you're doing an incredible job. I mean, it's just unbelievable what you're doing literally by yourself with absolutely no help. I mean, obviously, I'm helping you with this podcast and anything else that I can do, but it's really you, and it's really all you. And so you deserve a lot of credit for that. I mean, that's such a tremendous achievement. I hope you know that.
Thank you.
So I'm very proud of you. But my question is, what's the etiquette? Like, can you say, "Hey, Diana, can we exchange numbers?" Or "I'd love to have you on our podcast," or "I do this," or "Hey, can we do some sort of crossover?" Or is that sort of like you don't do that?
I chose just not to do that. My
Yeah.
whole thing is to act as you are a part of, right?
Yep.
I am a part of the media.
I think that's
you
the
have
right
the
move.
same you have the same pass as me, blah blah. If something were to happen organically, if we're in a
Yep.
discussion, we're talking, oh hey, you do that, oh awesome. Yeah, I follow you, blah blah blah. If that happened organically, totally fine. But I wasn't there like getting pictures, selfies, stuff like that, because I think that just screams like, hey, I'm new here, nobody, I'm not used to this kind of
Right.
stuff. So my thing was just to act a part of, like, Jeff Darlington was next to me when we were doing interviews on the field, and I was like, Jeff, you need to get in here because I had like a good spot, and he was like, no, I'm good. Just like stuff like that. Introduce myself. Sal Palantonio. I was like, Sal, what's up, man? Maybe just a couple of those, but nothing like weird where it's like, that guy.
That's good.
I just
That's the right move.
yeah. I think that's the move.
Yeah. No, that's smart. That's smart. Um, yeah, man. I think that's all the
Bert
football.
Kreischer was there.
Was Tom Segura?
I didn't see Tom. No, I didn't see Tom.
They're like pitching their new vodka or whatever alcohol series they have,
Yeah.
Por Osos, which basically means for bears.
Oh, okay.
So they were doing a lot of that on social. That wraps up kind of the football talk. Do you have any other thoughts about the Super Bowl you want to talk about? Oh, wait, I did have a question that I didn't ask. I pretty much asked everything. Do you like or hate Taylor Swift more after this game? Or the same?
Just the same. I don't like her music. Why would I like her?
Well, you know what? Maybe your daughter will. And then she might be like, hey, I want to watch football because Taylor Swift is
Okay, John. So here's my thought though.
it's a
The girls
bonding
that are
opportunity for you and your daughter. I just want
Okay,
you to realize
that's
that. You know what I
great.
mean? No one's
That's
trying to
totally
steal the
fine.
NFL from you.
And that's not what I'm upset about. I just don't like things rammed down my throat. I don't care what it is. Like, stop ramming
They
things
didn't
down
do
my
that
throat.
many
And
cuts. They
here's
only
the
did a
thing,
cutaway when he had a big play.
John. Answer me this: are the girls that are watching there to watch football, or they're there to watch Taylor?
They're there to watch Taylor. My sister, Maria, who we both know, and was in your class. I was texting her during the game. She goes, "I just want them to show more Taylor." I go, "That's not what this
Okay.
game is about." I go,
So
"They only show Taylor after a play with Kelsey. It has to be relevant, or else it does take away from the game." And I thought they balanced it very nicely.
So the argument that people are saying Taylor Swift is bringing more football fans is a fallacy. That's a lie. She's just bringing more fans of herself.
She's
when
bringing
her
more
and Travis
fans.
break up, those same girls aren't there to watch football. They're there to watch Taylor. So they're not more football fans. They're just more fans to watch Taylor.
But they're more fans to watch the NFL. The NFL is leaning into this as they should.
Sure.
If you're a marketer, you're like, bring it on. Bring on the more followers.
Of course.
Bring on the
Everyone's
engagement.
talking
This
about
is
it.
great.
We're talking about it.
Absolutely.
I don't like her music. I don't
love
care.
her music. I think she's great.
That's
Her
fine.
music's
But it's the
her
same
music's
if
awesome.
it was anybody else, I don't care. I don't care
All
about
right.
it. And that's great that you're
Okay.
dating and it's cute. I'm just, why would I like, I'm 35-year-old dude. I don't like her music, so I don't care to see her. That's great
I'm
that
a
dads and daughters are
35-year-old dude.
bonding.
I'm not gonna go to her concert, but dude, her music is good. There's a
Okay.
reason she's that popular. All right, let's move on because I know you don't like her. Um, Major League, something amazing that happened. We have been screaming like a
Yeah.
Cassandra for years that
They
Major
finally
League
heard us.
Baseball has not made a good marketing move. In fact, they basically hired an agency, an outside agency, to help them relate more. I mean, you and I come up with better marketing ideas for Major League Baseball in like 5 minutes on this
Dude,
podcast than they've
hands
actually
down.
implemented. But they finally made the first move. And then they're essentially ripping off what F1 did, Drive to Survive, which essentially the PGA did with Full Swing. What Point Break from tennis, like everyone's copying this to get people invested in players. And when you have personal relationships with these players, you form bonds, you form relationships, you know their backstory. Therefore, you're going to watch them.
And care about
It's
them.
a really
Caring
good
about the product.
strategy. Yes, they care, making people care, engagement. So, Major League Baseball announced they are doing a two-part series featuring the Red Sox. Ironically, the Red Sox lately have been absolutely horrible. In my opinion, the Dodgers would have been a lot of better idea. But the
Still a great
docu-series
market,
will
though.
still great market and a huge fan base, so you can't go wrong. And it ties in nicely too because the docuseries is going to follow the Red Sox for the entirety of the 2024 season, which I've been asking forever. Like, get me cameras in spring training. It's like Hard Knocks, but there's more guys. Like is this young pitcher going to be able to make the 25, 26 man roster? You know what I mean? And then he has an outing. He's got to pitch well, or what's the mix, or who's showing up early to do work? You know what I mean? Who's working out? Like, who's hitting well, like getting into some of the Rapsodo analytics. That'd be really cool to see, like pitch mix. It's like, actually, if you move your fingers this way, you get more seam shifted wake or whatever. Like, love that stuff. It's super cool. You're learning more and more about these players,
The
like,
day to
and then their
day,
personal
John.
life. You know
It's
what I mean?
162 games in 180 something days. Like, that's absurd.
Yeah, but they're
People
going to
don't, you
edit it
don't,
down to the best parts. This is
no, no,
good.
no. I'm saying you're going to get the inside. Like, people watch the NFL one day, and usually it's big on Sunday. Baseball players play every single day.
Right.
To play a major league game every single day is, baseball, like, you don't really understand. It's like, dude, they're grinding all day. You take one 92 to the ribs, and then, you have your rehab. You go out to dinner. You wake up. You're doing it. It is I think you'll really get to see the grind every day.
Yes.
Ground balls, taking infield, taking batting practice, icing yourself, doing, mobility stuff. Like, it is. And then you can follow pitchers. Pitchers have a different regimen, as you know. Every fifth day, what do I do on my off days? I'm doing bullpen
Right.
work. Well, what does that consist of? And why are we doing this? They have mental strategists where, remember John Lester used to meet with the mental strategist. Why I can't throw to first base. Like, there's a whole mental side to baseball too. So that
There's
kind
so
of stuff,
much-
if they can dig into
Absolutely.
that, is really going to be cool.
Absolutely. There's so much stuff you could do with it too.
Front
and I
office
think
stuff.
front office stuff too, like assessing players. You know what I mean? And Major League Baseball is so careful at like, oh God, we don't want to like show behind the scenes or behind the curtain. It's like, no, you idiots! Like, that's what you should do. If you need fan
Right.
engagement, your demographic is white males who are over 50. That's not going to work. That's not a long-term solution. So you need to pivot. Show people in spring training. Show guys what do you do to blow off steam? You know what I mean? Would you go after someone hits a game-winning home run? How do you spend that? It's just as interesting if Ian Happ hits a game-winning home run and then goes home to his wife and his dog, or he goes out. Either way, it's going to be interesting because you're like, how can you just do this when you just hit a home run and 40,000 fans or whatever? Or, you know what I mean? Like, it's going to be really interesting. And the conversations that they have with pitchers and bullpen catchers and be like, I know we like this guy's slider, but he just, I don't see it. He just can't throw it consistently for strikes. And if we get into a situation, you know what I mean? Oh, there's so, like,
John,
and I
that's
think what,
interesting that
there's
you
so much
brought that up.
strategy behind baseball. And I think people think baseball's boring because they don't understand the mental side of it, the mental game, how much thought goes into literally every action and decision being made. So you got front office, you have players, you have people working out, you got spring training, you got a ton of games. It's just going to be awesome. And then
But
also
that
what
is
they're
interesting.
doing. Go ahead.
What you brought up about not divulging too much information, right? So I guess but Hard Knocks does a very good job. They got all the cameras in there. I mean, they're not giving away too much, formation stuff, stuff like that.
And they give the team, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, but they give the team Final Cut or whoever to be like, hey, are you cool with this? Like the team watches or some representative from the Cowboys or whoever they're focusing has Final Cut to make sure that they're not giving away their game plan.
Sure.
And I think the same thing will happen in this. One of the other reasons. Go ahead.
I was going to say, look at the success of the movie Moneyball. Moneyball is analytics, front office talking about baseball. There was very little gameplay. I mean, you saw some gameplay in Moneyball, but a lot of that is how everything works behind the scenes. And that is one of the most successful baseball movies of all time.
I can't tell you how many people I know who don't like baseball at all, and they absolutely love that movie and have rewatched it several times. I'm talking about people that they're not baseball fans. They're not really sports fans. I have a lot of friends in comedy. A lot of them aren't big into sports, and they love that movie. That's because it's a great story, and it takes you behind the scenes, shows you hidden value.
Scott Heddenberg, the families that have to relocate every year. I have a 1-year contract. Babe, we're going to San Diego now. I have to pick up and leave my family, my wife, my kids. Are you guys staying here? Do I have to get an apartment in San Diego? So you don't understand. You're gone most of the year.
You bring up such a great thing, too. It's like, yes, the whole family life and what, interviewing one of the Red Sox wives and be like, is it hard when they're gone all the time, 10, 11-day road trip, and then they're back here, and then they play a night game, and the kids only see them during the day, and then they don't see them until the next morning. I think that's really interesting. And another interesting thing you brought up too is we talked about front office, but we also the off season too. I mean, like the conversations that have arbitration. An arbitration is essentially a baseball player going into. I remember Colin McHugh explained this really well on a podcast. He goes, "What an arbitration case is you going into a courtroom, and you are the defendant, and the prosecutor is the team that employs you, and they have a whole team of lawyers making a case to the judge and the jury about how you're not worth the money that you want." Basically saying all the negative shit. It's really not a fun process. Thinking. So like behind the scenes you could be like, like Justin Turner, like he's good at this, but he lacks that. Like those conversations behind the scenes, or with agents like Scott Boras right now with Cody Bellinger. Cubs fans are like, why aren't they signing Cody Bellinger? Well, maybe they're waiting it out, whatever. Like, let's get behind the scenes. Like, what's the off season like? What are the strategies? What is the gameplay? Like, I'm gonna wait for this guy to sign, then I'm gonna see the market for this. There's so much interesting financials and transactions with baseball that I think would be really, really interesting for people to realize and understand.
Well,
and the last thing I'll say about the Reds, go ahead.
I was going to say, you mentioned Scott Boras, and I think that is also a storyline or a character.
There should be a documentary on that guy.
He represents so many top-tier athletes that when we're talking about, well, why isn't Cody Bellinger signing? Scott Boras owns the market. So
there's
now
a
he
reason
gets to
for
decide,
that.
I want him to sign first because he will set the market. My other clients will follow suit. So I'm waiting for that team who has more money. Like that kind of stuff that you're... Yeah.
That is so interesting. And I think people want to see that. And when you know that stuff, it makes more sense. When you educate your audience and make them, when you make your audience smarter, you make the product better. You know what I mean? Because then you get them invested. And then you do this stuff with their families and at home. And this is what we cook for dinner. And then you get them invested. And then you're teaching them stuff. It's great. And the other thing, too, it's a multi-part series with the Red Sox. And then it's also looking back at their magical 2004 season. And so right there is just gold. You get Theo back, you get Francona, you get Millar. I mean, one of the greatest comebacks ever, down 3-0 in the ALCS, and they come back and beat them. It's just great. It's just, there's so much there. And also Theo just went back to the Red Sox. So, so it just really ties in nicely, and something that I think Major League Baseball hopefully will replicate going forward, because it's only going to help. Also, putting their highlights on TikTok, like you leveraging social media, like letting go of all their proprietary rights, and just, so what? Just like, it's all about engagement. I feel like I'm talking to people at work, but like good content. Don't be precious with your stuff. Just try new things, test it out, see what works, see what doesn't, but be vulnerable. And I think that's something that Major League Baseball hasn't done. They're very conservative. And that doesn't work in today's landscape. That's why the NFL is so much more popular than anything else. Like, they lean into things like Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce. They lean into that stuff. They're smart. Major League Baseball doesn't, and they're starting to, and thank God that they are. It's a long time coming.
Imagine if you got to have the behind-the-scenes look at teams whining and dining free agents. And the stuff that you don't understand, like, not you, but I'm saying, like, people. I read that book, The Cubs Way, when John Lester came to Chicago.
Lester?
They put a DVD together and put it on the marquee and said, John Lester coming in bottom of the 7th. Like, they have a whole team to simulate what it would look like when we win the World Series. And we show and we know that your wife is pregnant. So we have the best team of doctors right here in Chicago. Or we have, we know that you love Chinese food. We have a huge, Asian influence or whatever. Like, the whining and dining of free agents, bringing them in, what they do, the things that they show them, how you fit in our culture. Exactly. That stuff is so cool.
100%. This is what I'm talking about. We just fleshed out an entire marketing plan in 10 minutes that we've been talking about for years, and they're not doing it. It's so stupid. And that's why we're literally going down to Florida for spring training in March. And we're going to be doing some of this stuff because no one else is doing it. I think you and I have had it where we're like, fuck it, we'll do it.
We'll do it ourselves.
And yeah, absolutely. So that's really exciting, and it's a long time coming, and I'm super pumped about it. So,
Samesies.
That's it.
All right, that was good stuff.
For sure, man.
I guess we're on to baseball now.
We're on to baseball. It was
this
a good
is always
football
like the
season.
dead period. This is like a dead period for content, at least. Like, I always struggle. I remember every year once football's done and that little lull before baseball actually starts,
or
and
March Madness or something like that.
Yeah. But for me, it's like I don't give a shit about basketball, and so it's always that little lull, that month or two where I'm just like, oh man, struggling right now. But we'll get through it.
Yeah, for sure, man. And I'm super pumped about the spring training trip. I think we're a go for that. So I'm really pumped about that. And again, thanks everybody for listening. Really appreciate it. It was a long football season. Your Chicago Bears have a lot of big decisions to make come the draft, as they have the number 1 pick. I think that's something that we'll delve into. Not right now. Let's give it a break. The season just ended in a couple months. I'm feeling pretty good about my team and the direction that the Packers are heading. So should be a fun football season coming up, but I think you and I are looking forward to baseball for sure.
100%.
Hell yeah, man.
All right, guys. John, I will see you next episode.
Sounds good, buddy. Thanks, everybody.